What's up, guys? Craig Mack here, Liberty Bell Beekeeper. So, out and about on this steamy Sunday here in Philly. We're in the mid-90s, mostly sun with some clouds, a little bit hazy, about 65% humidity, something like that. I'm already completely drenched. Doing my setup took about an hour and a half. As always, I like to show people what it takes. Fortunately, these people were willing to let me park on their grass, so I could load out easy enough to right here. So as you can see, I brought 4 sets of scaffolding with me. I'm using 3. That's getting me up into that eave, and I'm tall enough to reach it from there. Bee vac buckets, tools, cooler, bucket of water, ladders, stage, extension cords, tables, frames, boxes, gloves, smoker, sawzall, grinder. So that's what it takes to do an extraction like this. It's about an hour and a half, maybe an hour, 45 minutes of setup time, about a 20-minute drive, and here we are. So I'm going to get into this. If we can see, maybe I'll show you the bees. They're coming in underneath of the shingles right above the gutter there. And I believe they, I believe that this wall is brick behind the stucco, and it goes straight up to the upper roof here. Because I went inside and drilled a hole in the wall, and there's brick underneath of the wall behind that window. So my hope is that they're in one of the rafter bays in this eave, and they're only in one. Who knows how big it is when it gets in there. I have a sneaking suspicion that this is a decent sized colony. These bees swarmed in last year at some point, made it over winter. The homeowners didn't notice it until they swarmed this spring, and they've been humming ever since. There's a lot of bees in and out of this colony, so looking forward to opening her up. Check back in with you. So we opened up my cavity and found the bees. Now this is a lot of new wax on this side, but when we were here, when I was here looking at this, I remember seeing on this stucco what looked to be a patch, and sure enough it was. And this is the reason these bees are here. They never closed the entrance off, and they didn't pull all the wax out of here. So it just invited the bees here basically, and they set up shop quite nicely. And I guess they're just pulling on this old wax, checking it out, doing what they can do with it. But like you see, they got a whole bunch of new wax, and if you look back there, there's some old wax. So there was definitely bees in here before, and someone didn't close it up. Bees came back. I'm back, so almost through this thing, probably about 75% through. And we take a look. There was so much old wax and propolis built in this thing. I'd need a freaking torch to get it all out of here. I'll have to spray it up with some repellent. But you can see how they built these combs. Big old slices of pizza. I got a bunch here I'm going to band into frames. There's a lot of bees in this thing. Still searching for my queen. I've not seen her yet. But you can see all the way back up there in the corner, there's bees in this thing for a long time. Either from these bees or previous guests. They got that whole ridge up there. This side you can see has some openings between the plywood. This side, they built that completely shut. Closed off all the air, any entry points for any pests. And they did a good job. Some of this stuff, I'm having trouble just even prying it off. Like that old dark wax and propolis, man, that stuff's like super glue. They're like super adhesive, man. It's tough stuff. But You can see, I don't know if you can see, how I cut these is I cut about 2 inches down along the ridge to try to leave the honey in place, and then take that other chunk of brood out of there, which is what I got here. Just a little bit of honey on the outside, on the up top, and some of the bees are cleaning it up, and I'll try to get rid of as much of that as I can before I band it into frames. But got a lot of wax there, and I probably got about 5 or 6 more rows, I think. I can't see past into the next cavity yet. I don't know if they've built into that yet, but I'm hoping that they haven't, because it'll just make it more difficult, and I don't really want to have to cut any more out of this if I can avoid it. So there they are, beautiful bees, being pretty gentle. I put the suit on earlier. That initial sometimes that initial opening, if they're not happy with you at all, and I had quite a few that were buzzing around, and they settled down and haven't been giving me too much trouble at all. So I'll let you know if I find the queen. That's what I'm on the search for now. Usually I find well, I don't know if there's anything usual, but you tend to find the queen on the newer wax, because that's where the space is. You can see this is mostly capped brood throughout these, and there's some eggs out on the ends. Some of these cells. But that leads me to believe that she's worked her way from left to right laying, and she's out there on that newer wax laying that up. So now I'm going to really kind of keep my eyes peeled for her. I just took a little break, let the bees clean up some of the honey that's dripping in here, and I'll check back. So kind of what I was hoping wasn't the case is the bees are in the other cavity behind this one, and it looks like there was a colony across this whole thing at one point. There's wax and old propolis back there I can see all the way across the bay. So I'm going to cut this support here and try to work it from there without having to open it up any more of this. Hopefully I can pull the queen out. I haven't spotted her yet, but my guess is she's back in there, so we'll see. So, as we already know, this whole cavity was filled, and this whole cavity was filled, and at one point this whole cavity was filled. Man, there must have been a monster colony in here at one point. 3 bees, completely drawn. You can see all the wax remnants that were left. Man, just a massive colony. And I believe my queen is up here in with these bees somewhere, unless I got her in the vacuum already. So we'll see. So like I was saying previously, that cavity was just jammed at some point with bees. Big old colony in here, 3 bays deep. Finally had a cluster of bees back up in here, and there's my lady. Happy to spot her. Fortunately, she stands out amongst the rest, and that makes my love, my heart, my life a whole lot easier. Right on. So happy to find the queen, and now I can move through the rest of the bees with ease, vac them up, close it up, and get on out.